Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Let me make some corrections on this real quick. Take all this off of here real quick. Okay, there we go. First of all, how you guys doing? I'm doing all right. I want to tell you, man, I am in shock right now. First, let me say this. It sounds like Mario Barrios may be sick. So hopefully he and Ryan Garcia still fight tonight. But Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn, you couldn't have made me believe in 1,000 years that Conor Benn would leave Eddie Hearn. I don't care if it's a 1-fight deal, 5-fight deal, and sign with somebody else after all Eddie Hearn has done for him. Eddie Hearn is devastated, and he should be.
When I received the email from his lawyer, I texted him and said, I think we should have a call. I think you, for everything I've done for you, I think I deserve a call. And he said, no. Man, fuck. I can't believe it. Very painful. I don't know, feels a little bit of a wasted few years. Pretty devastated.
Now, they got the full interview out there on IFL TV. But now some people have different opinions on this, but I'm going to tell you my opinion. Not all money is good money. And I understand Conor Benn he received an offer, 8-figure deal for one fight. Okay, so he's going to make, I don't know, 10, 15 million, something. He's going to make a lot of money. Could be more. I don't know. But after Eddie Hearn did for this man, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he rode with him. He rode for him. Eddie Hearn put himself in a line of fire. He took shots. He protected Conor Benn. And there are a lot of us, there's a lot of people who still believe that Conor Benn, he was really on the cocktail. And he got caught as he was trying to fight Eubank Jr. in that first fight years ago that ended up getting scrapped. There's a lot of people that believe that Conor Benn was guilty. And Eddie Hearn covered for him and protected him and did whatever he had to do and spent the money and everything to make sure that Conor Benn was able to come out barely, I ain't gonna say unscathed, I say barely scathed, and be able to continue his boxing career. And look at where he got Conor Benn back, really almost to he's one of the names that are at the top of the sport of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Got him through the controversy, through the scandal, got him into the Eubank fight. Big deal the first fight. Second deal, even bigger, Conor won the rematch. So Conor's on top of the world. Then he goes and he signs with Zuffa Boxing, Dana White, Turki Al-Sheikh. I'm just telling you, man, like, you know what, on my channel, I talk a lot about boxing. I like to joke and, you know, but I can't even joke about this. This shit is not even funny to me. I'm just like, I understand the money. I do. You know, I've gone through a lot of briefings when I was transitioning, and they tell you, hey, you got to do what's best for you because the company's going to do what's best for them. If they need to downsize, they need to get rid of you. They don't think about your wife. They don't think about your mortgage. They don't think about your children. They don't think about anything. They think about themselves. So if you have a better opportunity, don't feel sorry for any company when you leave them. So I remember going to those briefings. So when I look at Conor Benn, initially I was like, well, that's what they say. You got to take care of you. Because if Conor Benn would have lost both of those fights and maybe his next few fights, would Eddie Hearn have kept him on? But then I got to stop with Conor Benn's situation and say, well, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Conor Benn's situation is different. This same company put their neck on the line and immersed themselves in a controversial scandal and what seemed to be a cover-up for Conor Benn. So for him to just go and dip on Eddie Hearn to go get that Wu-Tang cream cha-ching ching, I think that shit is foul. So under any other circumstances, I'd be like, nah, go get your money. Because we know how promoters do fighters. They can't use you. You ain't winning. You ain't putting butts in seats. They drop you. But for Conor Benn, I think he should have at least touched base with Eddie Hearn and say, hey, they're offering me this. I know I'm not signed to you, Eddie. Hey, what's the deal? Can we talk? Can you match it? And I'm sure Eddie Hearn would have tried to come close to it. But he just didn't, from what it sounds like, he just didn't give Eddie Hearn an opportunity to even try to match him. But Eddie Hearn acknowledged he never signed him. He just felt that, thought it was the relationship, the rapport was better. There was some loyalty there. He just never thought he'd have to worry about Conor Benn leaving him to sign with someone else. And I'll be honest with you. I think most people feel that way. So now they're out here having a field day with it, talking about, I don't know if y'all can see this one. Yeah, who's your daddy? Who is your daddy? This picture is crazy right here. Saying that this shit is wild. Look right here. Who's your daddy? That picture is crazy. It says Eddie's the same guy who would drop Conor in a heartbeat if he knew Conor couldn't make him any money. That's what the other person says. So I kind of agree with that. Eddie's, after everything I've done for you, text hits like a breakup scene. Boxing really sad. Loyalty ends where the bigger bag begins. Cold war, but business is business. I agree with that. Eddie Hearn gutted after Conor Benn ghosted for Dana White's PFL boxing move. Texted for a call. After everything I've done for you, Ben straight up said no. Loyalty out the window when the bag calls. Cold business. Conor Benn on the phone with Eddie. So you can see people are out here having a good time with with this situation. But my thing is, if Conor Benn felt that he was overwhelmed with the fallout behind his positive clomiphene, I think it was clomiphene he tested positive for. If he felt overwhelmed from the fallout with that positive test and that scandal and how fans really were ignited in a Conor Benn slander campaign, right? Well, I'll tell you what, those Chris Eubank Jr. fights did a lot for Chris Eubank Jr., did a lot for Conor Benn. It even made me stop talking about him as far as bringing up the pet stuff, because I always felt he was guilty. I felt like he just some. Like they say, from where there's smoke, there's fire. I always felt Conor Benn was guilty. But the way he fought in that first Eubank Jr. fight, I said, man, I can't say anything else. He's a clean fighter now. He looked magnificent. Eubank Jr. won. But the way he fought, him and Eubank Jr. both fought like they were willing to no kidding, leave their lives in that ring. I said, I can't say anything about a man who'll fight like that. In the second fight, he made a few comments about Eubank Jr. because, of course, he was on top, feeling on top of the world, but he fought brilliantly. So I think the whole world had kind of got beyond Conor Benn and his scandalous past with the ped usage. But to come back now and do this, look, everything just resurfaces. Everybody's talking about him again, and not necessarily in a positive light. And all that stuff is going to come up. And Eddie Hearn said something. I don't know if y'all caught that. If you go watch the whole interview, he said, I could out him. I could this. When he said that, I was like, what do you mean out him? But Eddie Hearn, he may feel he can out him, but no, Eddie Hearn can't do anything, because if he outs Conor Benn, he outs himself. Especially if he, says something about that damn ped stuff. So Conor Benn probably, I'm making an assumption here, probably knew he had Eddie Hearn by the balls, and that Eddie Hearn could only go so far with what he will say about Conor Benn, because if he tries to sink Conor Benn's ship, he sinks his own ship. And I think that's why Eddie Hearn, you can just see how emotional he is, because his hands are tied. He can't do anything. He can't say anything. And he lost one of his biggest stars. Because right now, Conor Benn's on top of the world. That's why he went over there to Zuffa, and they offered him that 8-figure deal for one fight. You know what I'm saying? So how do I feel? My emotions are a little bit mixed, because I do believe Conor can take care of himself, take care of his family. He got children. But at the same time, I just think that was mishandled. He should have spoke to Eddie, say, hey, I got an offer on the table. I'm not signed to you. Can you match it? And talk to Eddie. Because Eddie, one thing about Eddie Hearn, he's not trying to stop a fighter from making a whole bunch of money. And if the deal is so good, Eddie Hearn's the kind of person who will say, look, I can't stop that. Maybe Eddie Hearn will say, I can give you $10 million. Maybe they're giving Conor Benn $20 million. Eddie Hearn's going to say, look, I can't match that. But they would have been able to build consensus. They would have been able to agree, to collaborate. And that is really important when it comes to conflict resolution. You know what I'm saying? The confrontation can be a bit destructive initially when people are emotional and heated. However, once the conversation starts, the dialogue starts, people take a deep breath, you tend to get beyond the destructive confrontation and start to have sensible, respectful conversations, and then it becomes very constructive, and the confrontation ends up being very beneficial to both parties involved. But that being said, I think this was a big mistake by Conor Benn when I think about it long term. Because now you're talking about character. You're talking about integrity. You're talking about greed. There's a lot of adjectives they're going to be using to describe Conor Benn. But at the same time, people are going to look at Eddie Hearn and say, if Conor Benn couldn't make you any money, you would have dropped him. So, I don't know. I think fans are split. But for me, I'm in shock. I'm in shock. Because you already know Dana White and Eddie Hearn beefing and riffing. This has Dana White sitting back, legs kicked up, cigar in his mouth, just chilling, laughing right now. I'm knocking off all your fighters. All these promoters were taking all your fighters. Y'all thought Zuffa boxing was a joke. We got the money over here. And all the promoters knew that. They know they can't compete with Turki Al-Sheikh. They can't compete with Saudi. They're hoping some fighters show loyalty. None of these guys are showing that Al Heyman loyalty. Al Heyman has fighters, they ain't leaving PBC. They are not leaving. That loyalty is different over there, isn't it? That's a whole nother video. But anyway, I'm going to leave it as that. I'm about to go run. But I just think Conor Benn has a right to do what's best for him and his family. But when he was down and out, Eddie Hearn could have thrown his ass to the side. He could have said all kind of things about Conor Benn because Eddie Hearn lost a lot of money. There's a lot of things Eddie Hearn could have done, and he didn't. He stuck by his side. Eubank Jr. said a lot of stuff about Eddie Hearn, about Conor Benn. So what Conor Benn did makes Eubank Jr. look right. Eubank Jr. is out here right now. They're laughing at Eddie Hearn. They're laughing at Conor. Dana White, again, Eddie Hearn's rival, laughing at Eddie Hearn. Oscar De La Hoya is laughing at him. You know, Clapback Thursday's going to be coming around, and he's going to talk about that shit. There's a lot of different fighters out there who feel a kind of way about Eddie Hearn. They're laughing at him. He's humiliated Eddie Hearn. This has been one of those pin the tail on the donkey kind of things. They pinned the tail on Eddie Hearn. He's nothing but a big donkey. That's how Conor Benn has made him out to look. And I'm telling you, I don't think he should have took that fucking money. I understand. I don't think he should have done it. I think he should have talked to Eddie. Say, yo, this is what they're going to give me, Eddie. I'm not signed with you. What do you think? And Conor did put out a little letter talking about he's hoping Eddie Hearn will still work with him. And, Conor Benn didn't write it. He probably had someone on his legal team, compose something and just to throw it out there to kind of quell the drama and shit. But it's all bad, man. All bad, all bad, all bad. But anyway, boxing is a business like any other sport, man. These guys have to get as much money as they can. I understand, because if they lose a fight, promoters don't treat them the same way. But I ain't never heard Eddie Hearn, like, he's devastated. Devastated. You better hope Anthony Joshua don't do him the same way. And any fighter who he's working with, he better get him under contract. Because if these guys aren't under contract, Zuffa Boxing will strike again. Conor Benn forgets where he came from. I understand getting the money, but man, nah. It wasn't. I don't think the move was worth it. That's all I'm saying. He got to walk around back in the UK. And now all that stress that he was dealing with before from the pet scandal, now he got to deal with this shit right here. You watch. Conor Benn, the focus ain't going to be there for his next fight. You watch. Now I don't. Conor Benn's a all right fighter, but I don't think he wins his next fight. The distractions. And out in the UK, they're brutal. He done messed up. People would rather hear that he came out and turned down a $20 million deal to continue fighting with Eddie for $10 million. People would really have got behind him and hoisted him up on their shoulders and championed Conor Benn. And he would say, don't get me wrong, I was tempted. It's a lot of money. But Eddie Hearn got me 2 fights, gave me generational wealth, my children, grandchildren. To go after and chase after that $20 million wasn't worth it when Eddie Hearn was able to still give me something that I was comfortable with, and the loyalty was there, the relationship was there, the rapport wasn't severed, and we still have a good thing going. Most people would have respected that, because that shows something about him as a human being. But what this does is it causes people to see him otherwise. And I do believe Conor Benn respects Eddie and loves Eddie. I just think when you get around people that are smooth talkers and that put money in your face, and you don't have that voice to say, oh, stop, hammer time. No, I'm joking. They say, stop. Let's think about it. Let's allow ourselves a day or two to mull over this. Talk to Eddie Hearn first. But I know they probably put them deals on the table. Hey, we need an answer now. If not, then it's gone, because that's how they work. We need an answer now. The deal's there, but hey, if we don't get an answer, we're going to move on. We need to know now. So that's a lot of pressure to be under, too. So, I'm looking at it. I'm understanding. If I was in that situation, what do you do, especially if Eddie Hearn doesn't have any real plans for you? You know what I'm saying? I understand. Conor Benn, like, look, I need to make money. I need to know. I need some kind of predictability here, some expectation management. Right now, I just kind of in the breeze. But I get it. Eddie Hearn loaned him hundreds of thousands, which Conor obviously paid back. But he looked out for him when Conor was down and out. But anyway, time for me to go run, man. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.